All Things Good podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Things Good podcast. I am your coach and your host, Giovanna Cirillo. Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast that helps you with mental health, self development, and your overall wellness, helping you become the greatest version of yourself. Today, we're going to be talking about survival. Survival not being the finish line, but actually becoming the doorway. Our guest, Khalilah Jackson, endured everything that she endured, not to just make it out alive, but she made it out to become. She made it out to lead and to show others what is possible on the other side of pain. So, who is Khalilah Jackson? Khalilah Jackson is an entrepreneur, an author, a community advocate for those whose work is rooted in healing, resilience, and empowerment. She is a two-time cancer survivor and domestic violence survivor. She transformed adversity into purpose, earning her PhD, building successful businesses, and authoring Turn Those Lemons to Lemonade. She is the founder of My Sister's Keeper Next Door Inc., a nonprofit dedicated to empowering survivors through education, protection, and community support. I'm so glad to have Khalilah on. Join me today on today's episode and help me by welcoming Khalilah Jackson. Khalilah, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for coming on and being willing to share your story. I can't wait to dive into everything that you've been through and what you're doing now.
Great. I'm
You
excited.
ready?
You know,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I shared a little bit about your bio in the opening, and I shared with the listeners, the things that you have been through. Um, who are you in this current season of your life?
I would say I'm a more hmm, accomplished version of myself. I have a clearer version of the path that I was chosen to follow, and I'm just living every day in a moment of continuing to follow that path. Like, I think back to a lot of the things that I've been through, and I'm like, everything has shaped me to who I am today.
Right.
So, um, yeah, I'm just walking in my purpose today.
I love that. I love that. Now, you mentioned in your bio submission that you realized that your story wasn't over. What led you to that? What actually, like, what happened in your life? Where were you in the point of your life that you mentioned that you just decided, you know what? This isn't it. It's time to do something else.
It was the second time that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the first time I was diagnosed, that journey, I did not have to do chemo. So when I had to do chemo and I started going through it, like the first two, three treatments weren't that bad for me. And then it was maybe around the fifth treatment where I was laying down and I was extremely sick. And I said to myself, I don't want to do this no more, Lord. Please, please, please take me. Take me, take me, take me. Unless you have something else for me to do, please, please, I can't take this anymore.
Right.
And when I woke up the next day, I said, okay, you still have things for me to do. Because at that time, I hadn't completed my PhD and I hadn't opened my salon yet. So I was still kind of figuring things out. I was working in a prison and I wasn't too sure if that's where I wanted to be or if I was there for a purpose. I was living in a space where, um, is this all that you have for me? You
Right.
know, and when I woke up that next morning, it was like I had a drive to accomplish everything, because I'm like, we don't understand that we're on limited time.
Right.
and if there's something in you to accomplish goals or to achieve something, you got to do it. It's time out for saying, oh, I'll do this next year, or
Mhm.
I'll wait till I'm in my 30s or 40s, because that comes so fast, And I woke up and I was 42, and I'm like, man, I've grazed the surface, but I haven't done everything that I wanted to do.
Right. I love the fact that just looking at your story in retrospect, you had a moment. You had a moment. Obviously, this is your second time with cancer, and you had a moment where you were just like, I'm done. I'm done. And, there's a scripture in the Bible that says joy comes in the morning. And, we
Mm,
know that every day is a new opportunity for us to take on. We get new brain cells every day, right? And we
absolutely.
get and it points us to either two choices, right? Either the choice of going back to the version that you were yesterday, the day before, where you were, sick and complaining. And I understand why you were complaining, but you also have the choice to take a look at your situation and see the good in it and say, you know what, I'm not done. And you decided to say, you know what? No, today's a new day. I'm going to use these brain cells and I'm going to use this daylight to do something good and positive with my life.
Absolutely.
I love that. So
Absolutely.
from that day, what did you do? What did you take on? I mean,
Well,
obviously it wasn't all done within a day, but things began to change.
yeah. Well, I was in the process at that time of getting my PhD. I was in the dissertation process. And at that time, I had told my chair, like maybe 2 months before that, hey, I got diagnosed. I have to start treatment, and I may be taking, some time off. And um, I took like maybe 3 weeks off. And when I woke up that morning, I was like, I'm not taking no time off. I'm going to finish this.
Right.
So I dove right into everything I needed to do to finish my dissertation. I started doing most of my research and just moving forward. And then the next thing you know, I was at the next step, then the next step, then it was over. And I couldn't believe.
Wow.
And yeah, and she even said, because you have to do a kind of an exit interview for your dissertation. And she was like, I can't believe she did all of this while fighting cancer. And I hadn't thought about it at that time until she said it, like, wow, I was sick and I did this, so
You
um
must have set the bar really high for the other students. Like your excuse cannot be as good as hers, and she still did it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so maybe 2 months after that, I went on loopnet.com, and they have like businesses that you can buy that are already established, or they have properties that you can buy to start a business. So I went on there looking for properties, and then something told me just check out the businesses. And when I looked, because I wanted to open a salon, I wanted to do that since I was a kid.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not doing no business plan. I'm going to do it.
Wow.
And it was a salon right there, turnkey. And it was way below my price range because I had a lot more in mind to spend. And I'm like, this can't be real. So I called the number. The owner at the time called me in to interview me. And within a month and a half, I was the owner. I,
Wow.
I, I couldn't believe it. I
That's
couldn't believe
amazing.
it.
Now, this was during your cancer treatment. You also survived domestic violence and childhood verbal abuse. How did
Absolutely.
this, how was that almost a hindrance to the person that you are now? And what did healing look like to take you from where you were to this version that you are?
That's a good question. As a child, I was told I was stupid, I was ugly, and it was like I didn't even have a name.
Mm,
You know, I was called these bad names often, and that's how I acted. My attitude was ugly, and I would be in school and, doing my work. I would know the answer, but then I would second guess myself, you know, and it wasn't until I got older, and I worked through self-esteem issues that I was like, that first answer that comes to your mind is the answer. And it takes me back to when I was a kid. Like, I would always second guess myself and then get the answer wrong, or
mm,
feel like, oh, you can't do that. You're not smart enough to do that. Or, you can't be around these type of people. You're not smart enough to be around them. Or you can't accomplish that goal. You're not smart enough to do that. Like,
mm,
after high school, I wanted to go to college, and I'm like, I'm not really, I'm probably not that smart enough. So I started a trade school and I didn't finish. I wound up getting a city job after that. But as far as domestic violence, that also worked on my self esteem. It made me feel like I was at fault for everything that happened in my life. It was like,
yeah.
you know, you went through this as a child, you got beat, you got called names, and now, it's a continuation. It must be something wrong with you. It's
Right.
it's you, so it wasn't until therapy that I learned, well, no, you can't blame what others do on you, because no matter how you behave, it's up to them how they respond to it. And
Exactly.
everyone doesn't respond with violence, so it took a lot of work, but you know, it when I came through, it encouraged me to prove everybody wrong.
Right.
Everybody who doubted me, everybody who put me down, abused me, put their hands on me. I just wanted to prove them wrong. And then as I got through it, I was like, I don't have to prove anything to
Mm,
anybody. I have to do this for myself, because I have to walk in these shoes every day and live this life.
right.
They're on to other things and living their life. I still have to live my life and get rid of this baggage and become who God had destined for me to become.
Right. Wow, Khalilah. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you had the verbal abuse. So that was one programming already trying to infiltrate your mind, right? You had the physical abuse, someone beating you down, making you feel like you're not worthy. So you're going through all of this, but still, and then with cancer, in the process of your second, and then you came out and you're like, listen, do you know how much work that takes? Like, I need our listeners to know, like, if she can do it, and it's not like you have been through so much. I haven't heard someone, and it's not to, glorify anybody's story, but or belittle someone else's, but the multiple traumatic events that took place in your life for you to say, you know what, I'm going to remove every negative word. I'm going to heal every trauma that my body still remembers by going through therapy, by going through the work, and doing what I need to do. And now look at you with a PhD, a salon, and a book. Like, come on. That is just so good. So good. I love to see it. And I'm glad that you are here to tell your story.
Thank you. Thank
Of
you. Thank
course. Now, what does resilience actually look like behind the scenes when nobody is clapping?
you. Resilience looks like picking up that cross, putting it on your back, crawling with it, standing up a little bit, and then running with it.
Mm,
because there were even moments, during my chemo journey that I had to crawl, and as a new business person, there were moments I had to crawl, but I'm standing now.
Right.
I feel like I've overcome, and I'm still doing work. I'm still in
Right.
therapy. I'm still doing work, but I feel like I've overcome a lot of the trauma and the barriers that were placed in front of me. I don't hold any grudges. That's a part of resilience,
Mm,
also. Forgiveness, forgiving yourself for putting yourself, because I was very hard on myself. Why did I do that? Why did I put myself? So, resilience is forgiving yourself, forgiving the people who's hurt you, and moving forward.
right. Right. And at what point did you realize that surviving and healing wasn't just for you, but it was for others too? Because you have a nonprofit organization, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so at what point did you, I mean, obviously you have your story that led you to that, but at what point did you say, you know what, other people need the same healing and help that I needed?
I ran into a female that she was at the shelter I went to donate some clothes. At the time, I was just donating clothes to shelters, and her daughter was like so dirty, and her hair
Mm,
wasn't done. And I said to her, "Well, I'll do her hair for free. You don't have to pay me, you don't have to give me anything." And when she looked in the mirror, the look on that little girl's face
mm,
said to me, wow, just from a hairdo, she overcame whatever she was going through that had her, I mean, no smile, no nothing when I first saw her, to excited and smiling in the mirror. Like she didn't even look me in the eyes when I was talking to her,
mm,
just making conversation. How would you like your hair? She was very shy and timid. And I said, wow, just that, for me, it was just a small act, but it really moved her. And that
mm-hmm,
that was while I was going through my domestic violence.
mm.
So um yeah, that's where it started. When I saw that someone else can benefit from a small gesture to the point where it changed their life.
I love that. Would you say that you kind of saw yourself in this little girl?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I looked at her, I thought about the names I was called. I thought
Mm,
about, going to school and not having my hair done, and,
right.
getting made fun of, and that's what brought me to here. I started braiding my own hair when I was 8 years old, because I was tired of going to school. And so I had a cousin at the time that owned a salon. And one day my dad took me there to get my hair braided. And I watched her, like when she was doing the ends, how she would move her hands.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started, once my hair went back to a mess, I just started playing and doing it myself. And wow, I fell in love with doing hair ever since.
I love that. I love that. It's so crazy how often God will place situations in our lives to get us to see ourselves within that situation or person. And sometimes, we often overlook it. It doesn't hit us until we get home. It doesn't hit us maybe till 2, 3 weeks later. And we're like, hold on, God was showing me this. But the fact that we're presented these situations and these, opportunities to see something greater and then actually take action upon that. I think that is something beautiful that, we have and we don't often look at.
Yeah. I know as far as myself, I have. felt like people have taken my kindness for weakness and taken
Mm-hmm.
advantage of me. And it was one thing that my dad told me. He said, because I said to him, I'm not doing nothing else for nobody. They're ungrateful, this, that, and everything. He said, you're not going to get your blessings from the person that you bless. You will get your blessings from God for blessing people. So don't let one person stop you from getting your blessings by blessing other people, you know.
Mm,
And I always thought about that, like, when something comes upon me, hey, just send, like, sometimes I'll just send someone money, or and it's like it comes upon my heart and I'm like, oh, they're gonna think I'm you know vulnerable, or they're gonna think they could take advantage of me and ask me for anything anytime. And then it'll come on my heart, send 50, I'll send 5. And
mm,
just that small thank you, is like, oh, I meant to send this, you
right.
know. Um, I,
I love that, but I love that concept because even with everything that you went through, you had every opportunity to be like, you know what? Like you said, I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna harden my heart. I'm gonna be this bitter, vengeful person who just doesn't care. But it's so hard for people like you and me, because I'm the same way. Like I'll be like, you know what? I'm done. Like I ain't doing nothing. But God always checks me.
yes,
Nope, that is not the person that you are. Let everybody else be that person. You're the
absolutely.
person that's there. You're the person that's open. You're the person that's understanding. This is what makes you you. And not everybody's going to be that. And you have to understand that. And so your dad speaking was God speaking because we have to guard our hearts. People like us with, good intentions and just want to be there for people, we have to guard our hearts because we don't want to be like the rest. And I want our listeners to hear that. Like, if you are this person where you're constantly giving boundaries, let's not get it twisted.
Yes, yes,
Let's not get it twisted. Boundaries are
absolutely.
still needed.
Very
Yes. And
important.
if you hear anything that I say, it better be that. Boundaries are needed. But that doesn't mean that you're angry and hard-hearted and stingy. It just means when you can't, you can't, right?
Exactly.
Speaking of boundaries, what is it? What boundaries? Like, tell us how you set your boundaries, especially with everything that you've been through, still maintaining an amazing heart posture. What are some things that you do to care for your mental health and your emotional health?
I would say therapy,
Hmm.
and knowing when to say no, because I feel like a no is an opportunity to possibly be changed to a yes, but once you say yes, you're obligated.
Mm,
No, but just using my heart and knowing when to say, I can't do that right now. I can't be at that location. I'm sorry. I can make up for it, or, reschedule, but I can't be everywhere all the time, because I do have to take time for me and for my mental health. So I
right.
take breaks. I do.
Mm,
I take breaks. There's times that I cut my phone off, put it on do not disturb for, a day or two. And it's like, I need that time for myself. I can't, listen to your issues or take your appointment
right.
right now, you know.
Right. What are some things that you felt like you had to unlearn, or not some things, but give me one thing that you felt you had to unlearn with, people calling you all these names while you were younger, the domestic violence, the cancer. What is one thing, if you can sum it all up, or two, you can give me two if you want, that you had to unlearn to become this version of you that you are right now?
Um, I had to unlearn being told I wouldn't be anything, because in my 20s, it's like I had a all right job, but just the thought of getting a promotion, I'm like, they're not gonna give it to me. I'm not
Mm,
gonna get that. I'm not gonna do that. So I can't because I'm not good enough. They got all these other people that work hard and bust their behinds and
mm-hmm.
no. So I had to unlearn that negative self-talk of me not being able to be anything or accomplish anything.
Yep. Right. I love that. And like I said, it takes work, but here we are, and you are showing our listeners, and I'm sure there are other people with the same story or similar stories who feel like, I've been told that I couldn't do this. I've been told that I couldn't do that. I've been hurt. I've been abused, and it's possible. It's possible. It's gonna take work, but it's possible if you love yourself enough and believe that you are worthy, right? Because you said you didn't believe you were worthy. You had to reprogram, you had to unlearn that. And that is key because when we start to love ourselves and we start to say, I am worthy, I am worth the pay raise, I am worth this, things start to begin to change in your life because now everybody, like, now you're releasing, you're projecting, you're releasing a signal into the world saying, I'm worthy. And now there's light, right? Now there's light, and now you can see because of the words that you are using, as opposed to just saying, I'm nothing. Then it's like all opportunities begin to close out because that is what you believe. Now, I still believe that God will come through, but will you see it? Will you
Absolutely.
see that opportunity?
Absolutely. And I had to learn just because he opens a door doesn't mean I don't have to do the work.
Mm,
The door was open, the posting for the salon was open, but I had to go on that website and look for it. And I had to call that number and inquire about it. It was there. God put it there, but it was up to me to look for it and go for it.
right.
And a lot of times, in my through my experiences, my mind was what was stopping me.
Hmm.
It it wasn't only what I was told, it was how I let it affect me, and had I been had someone, back then to take me to therapy, I probably would have been able to process that earlier. But, in my home, it was we don't need that, you know.
Right.
Even my older son, when he would display certain behaviors, I would say to myself, "Oh, I need to take him," and I did take him, and he was in therapy, and I believe that's what helped him to be the person he is today. He was in there. He was about 10, and he went till he was maybe 12.
Mm,
And I was told, "Oh, he don't need that." I'm glad I didn't listen
right.
because I just feel like he has a clearer understanding of the path he wants to take now,
I love
and
that.
he's living it. He's living it.
I love that. And you doing that just showed how much you trust yourself, right? Because you could have listened to what everyone else was saying. He don't need that. But you knew something within you knew that he needed more. He needed something, right? And so I'm saying this because I want our listeners to understand that when you start loving yourself, you start trusting yourself. You
Absolutely.
start trusting the decisions you make. You start trusting your parenting skills. What your parents said isn't always correct, right?
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
your cousins and all them believe, whatever they believe, it's not always correct. Knowing yourself is so key,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Ah, so good, so good. Now, you wrote a book.
Yes.
Let's talk
Yes.
about that. Turning lemons to lemonade. Talk about that.
Yes.
What inspired that?
Um, I had a friend, me and her mom got really, really close, and she used to always say that any situation, that like if I didn't have enough to buy groceries, there was a time when me and my kids ate peanut butter and jelly. It was 2 weeks straight for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They claim they don't remember that, but
Well,
um,
that's the Lord.
when that 2 weeks was up, she said, "You turned them lemons into lemonade. You eating chicken now." You
Yes.
struggle through that peanut butter, but you eating chicken now. And it was like, yeah, I all those lemons, how r- not rotten, but bitter they were through my life. It
Mm,
was certain steps and things that I did to program myself to make a glass of lemonade. And I think of a glass of lemonade as something refreshing, delicious.
right.
Nobody, I know I don't want the lemon when it's fresh and I cut it, it's bitter. It has a taste that I don't like. But once I squeeze it into lemonade and, add my sweeteners and stuff, it's delicious.
Right.
So, yeah, her and my experiences with lemons inspired that title.
I love that. I love that. And so, who is turning lemons into lemonade for?
It's for the little girl who is told that she's not beautiful, that she's not smart. It's for the wife who stays in an abusive situation no matter what and feel
Mm,
like there's no way out. It's for the person going through any struggle with health, or a lot of people forget mental health. It's for that single mother. I went through that journey, who feels like, she's stressed out and she doesn't know what to do or how she's going to get through certain things. It's it's for her. It's for the little boy who, may want to play sports and he doesn't make it to the NFL.
mm,
There's still opportunities for you.
right.
That's not the end all be all. It's for the boy or the man that doesn't get that promotion and feels like his life is over.
Hmm.
It doesn't just stop with women, even though I can only relate to a female's perspective. It's for anyone who has gone through something and doesn't see a way out,
Right.
because I firmly believe there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Always.
I definitely agree. I agree. I love that. So the book is for everybody. If y'all listening, if y'all listening, go get the book. Awesome. I love that. I love that, Khalilah. Now, I want to briefly transition into the soul snacks and piece of the puzzle. It's a segment that I kind of put in there to lighten up a story that might be heavy, especially when it comes to mental health and, stories of overcoming. It can be a little heavy. So I put in some fun questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. All right. So you got to say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right.
Okay.
Don't think too much.
Is it a sentence or a word you want?
And I already know you're familiar with with the word. We're not doing the word. We're not doing the word.
Okay.
Trust me, I went through therapy too. I know exactly what you're talking about. First word that comes to mind, and yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so what is a comfort movie you always go to?
Oh, Love Jones.
Okay.
I love that movie. Oh my goodness, I love that movie. I love the poetry. I love the music in that movie. I love the storyline. I just
Okay.
love Jones.
I've never seen that. Is it
Oh
old?
my God. Yes.
Okay.
Nia Long and Lorenz Tate.
Oh, I
Bill
love Neil.
Bellamy's in it too, but oh man, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. They
I
had
might
to
have.
play, but
Really? A play?
yeah, I saw it when I was in Birmingham, but I didn't hear anything else about it from that first year that it came out.
Okay. Okay. I'll check it out. I have to check it out. I've never heard of it. I thought you were gonna say Love and Basketball because you said
Oh,
love, and I was like, oh, what is it? Okay. What this is my favorite one. What is a comfort food that you go to? Like you just gotta have it when you're not having a good day. And we're not talking about gluttony here, guys. This is a mental health podcast. We talk about healthiness and all these things, but I'm talking about those moments where you feel like you just need something.
to be honest, it's cucumbers, chopped
Oh,
up cucumbers with tahine.
okay.
Oh my God, that tastes so good. That
Interesting.
yeah, that was the only thing that I ate during chemo because I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't hold anything down. And that was the only thing that tastes good to me. And my grandmother, when I think about it, years ago, used to make cut cucumbers up with salt and put them on the side of the food. So I'm thinking now maybe there's a correlation. I don't know, but I love cucumbers and tahini. Oh my God, it tastes so
There.
good.
That sounds good. I love cucumbers. I love cucumbers when I mix it with like onions, tomatoes, and avocado. You
Oh,
mix
that
it in with a
sounds
little bit of
good.
lemon, with some olive oil and lemon juice.
Mm,
Oh,
mm,
girl.
that sounds good. But if I'm having a bad day, I'll call. Like my husband sometimes stops at the store on his way home because he passes a store on his way home. I don't. So I say, "Oh, please get me some cucumbers." He's like, "I got you." He knows if I ask for cucumbers, I had a rough day.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking like, typical girl, like in the movies, they're like, I'm having a stress day. I'm opening up a can of a jar of ice cream. Nope, here, babe, or chocolate. Nope, just give me the cucumber. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But listen, if it helps, it helps. And that's what matters. That's what
Yes,
matters.
yes.
Okay, last one. What is a fun fact about yourself that many people don't know? Besides the cucumbers. We're
I'm very silly. I'm
okay.
very, very silly. Like I come off in the settings that I'm in serious, but I'm silly. I'm like I love to laugh. I roll on the floor laugh. Sometimes me and my daughter just look at each other and bust out laughing just for no reason. Like I am very, very silly.
I
Very
love that.
silly.
I love that. That's so good to hear because I believe that we don't have enough fun. I mean, there's so much going on in the world. And sometimes I'm like, am I the only one that still wants to laugh? That still wants to throw in a little jokey joke? Like, is anybody having fun these days? So I am definitely with you on that. I love that. Keep that. Keep
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Kalila, this has been amazing. Your story has been inspiring to so many. It's inspiring to me. I know that it is going to be inspiring to many others that are listening. Tell us about your nonprofit organization. Tell us how survivors can connect with you or any other way that they can find you.
My nonprofit is about abuse prevention. So on the website, there's like a course. It's a free course, and it just tells us what level of protection you may need.
Mm,
And at the end of the course, once the information is uploaded, we send out a protective device. We have alarms, mace, stun guns,
mm-hmm.
just because not everyone leaves.
Right.
We think of abuse and people leaving, but I was one who left and came back, you know?
Mm,
So was I safe in the house? No. Did I I was nervous. You don't know when the abuse or what might spark the abuse, you
right.
know, but just making sure you protect yourself in some sort of way because sometimes you're outside and when you get home, it may be something like mine's was if a guy, looked at me a certain way when we were out, or, gave me a compliment. Oh, I knew when I got home.
Right.
So, if I had an alarm, I'd have pulled that alarm. It got somebody to help me get me
Mm,
out of there. I'm not going home tonight.
right.
So it's all about uh abuse prevention, you
Okay.
know.
I love
So
that.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. And what other ways can they connect with you? Do you have anything else going on that we can look forward to? Or if they wanted to just have a conversation?
Well, my website has all my life coaching information. Anyone can book a session. Anyone can, DM me. I get a lot of DMs asking questions. Email. You know, people can find me on biolinks/Kaylee's, and that has all my websites in one. It's
Okay.
under my Instagram, Achieving Minds Life Coaching LLC. That's my Instagram, and I also have a Facebook through there. So all forms of communication for me is in that link.
Awesome. Awesome.
And I
Ah,
read all my emails, I respond to my DMs, so I'm very interactive.
okay. Awesome. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies, because I'm sure that you focus more on ladies, but I'm sure there are gentlemen listening. Listen. Man, you're not excluded. If you know someone that may be going through something similar, reach out to Khalilah. Be that safe place. Be the one that gives the resources to those who are needed. We need men. We need you
Absolutely.
guys to stand up and start protecting us. I know you're already
Yes.
doing it. Not too much hate on the men, okay? Because I know we tend to do
Yes.
this. There's already men doing this. But if you feel like there's someone out there that may benefit from this episode, may benefit from Khalilah's story, link her up. Link them up to this episode because they will come out inspired. Inspired. Thank you so much, Khalilah. This has truly been an honor. I thank you for being willing to share your story. I thank the listeners for coming on. And I hope that you leave learning this, that surviving is not the finish line. It is the doorway to something
Absolutely.
greater.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to communicate with you and get your perspectives on things and give you my perspective on things. I really enjoyed myself.
I did too. Thank you so much, Khalilah.
No.
Until next time, we'll see you next time. Bye. Oh,
You are.
oh, who's that? Is that your daughter?